Alright, today I'm going to be doing a processor upgrade. This is my computer. I built this in around December 2007, and right now it's August 2016, so it's about 9 years old. And I just bought a processor upgrade. What I have now currently is a Q9650, which is a quad-core, part of the Core 2 Duo or Core Quad series. I got this Q9650 at a Goodwill about 5 years ago for $20, and at the time they were going for a few $100s in line, so I got a really good deal on that, and I've been using it. It runs stock at 2.4 gigahertz, and I've been running it overclocked just on my little homemade cooling system here at 3 gigahertz, no problem. This is just regular copper heatsink that I mounted, and then I just took a large fan and just had it held on by one screw there. It makes it very easy to work on when you're needing to work on something. Easier to clean too. You can get in there and scoop out all the dust. There are 8 gigabytes of RAM. I think it's, yeah, DDR2 8500. And by selecting, changing the timing on that memory, I can get it up into the gigahertz range. Because these processors are locked, that's the only way I can overclock it, is by increasing the front side bus. Up here, got the Blu-ray burner, 5 1/4 floppy, 4 terabyte hard drive. There's my solid state drive. 4 of those are 2 terabyte hard drives. So 12, yeah, it makes it 12 terabytes total. 13, so that's 13 terabytes. They're in a RAID array. Here's some more of my custom made cooling. I do all the wiring, handmade wiring stuff. So this just sits here when it's running, and it pulls the hot air through. There's a fan on the front, fan on the inside, so it pulls the hot air through the bank of hard drives. And 650 watt. I have the dual gigabit Ethernet made by Intel, the GTX 550 Ti. Somebody gave that to me for like $20, so that's what I use there. And this is my USB 3 upgrade, since this board didn't originally come out with USB 3. Okay, so I'm just going to start disassembling everything. I'm going to screwdriver for that one. Oh yeah, I forgot to say what I was going to put in here. It's a Q9650. The Q9650 is 3 gigahertz, 12 megs of L2 cache, and 95 watts of power. So it should be great for overclocking. I have a feeling I'll be able to get it up to around 3.5 to 4 gigahertz just with my air cooling here. And I got this for $38 off of Amazon. Now, a little thing I did to it, if you don't already notice, I polished the top off. Normally this is a silver color. What I did is I took some sandpaper and I went down and down in grits until I got it to a really low grit, and I just smoothed it down to the copper underneath. Just take off a very thin layer, and you just want to make sure it's absolutely flat when you do it. What I use is this whetstone here. I got this really nice and wet, and I found the softer side when I wanted to get it nice and smooth, and just keeping it wet and going in small circles very lightly, wiping it off every minute or so to get the copper dust off. It turned out pretty well. This is one of the best CPUs that they made for this socket. Something like 800 million transistors, and it's using the 45 nanometer process. So I'm going to take this all apart. I'm going to go ahead and take out all these original fans that came with the case 10-year-old fans. This is probably one of the last ones, besides the one in the front of the hard drives, that I've pulled out. This has been working just fine. It's probably been on for about 8 years of its life, or 8 years of on time. So it was made in 2007. But what I usually do with these, if they're still working, I'll cut this back piece off here. Behind there, a little rubber gasket that you can pull out. But this allows you to clean and lubricate the bearings. And when you're done, you just put that little rubber seal back in. Put some fresh tape over it, and they're good to go. Let's see here. This is the fan that I'll probably end up putting in place of the one in the back. So we'll go in the back here, and I'll probably use this up front where I had the hard drives being cooled. This fan looks like it's still okay, but it needs to be cleaned up. That was the main CPU fan. I might actually use this for the CPU fan. I don't know yet. I'll figure it out when I get there. Alright, so I just need to pull the screws out. Alright, so I put this motherboard on the back side of my case. Nice flat metal surface. It's nice to have a metal surface underneath the circuit board like this. That way you don't accidentally cause any static discharge. You have a chunk of metal that has been grounded. Also, I'm using the Simco ionizer thing. I need to remove my heatsink, and this one, you can see here, uses those really stupid push turn kind. Well, last time I hooked it up, I broke one off, so I ended up using a zip tie to hold it on. But it's worked perfectly, and I have extra zip ties, so I'm just gonna start pulling that off. Alright, there's the old processor. Looks like it didn't do a very good job spreading the heat paste last time, but there's maybe a little too much on there. I'll do a little bit better job of spreading it this time. Right now I'm going to just clean that all up with some rubbing alcohol and clean up the board. I'm going to pull off this heatsink and this heatsink, and I'm going to redo the thermal paste underneath those two also. I have a tube of Arctic Silver. This stuff is not that expensive, and it's some of the best stuff you can get. Arctic Silver 5 anyway. Been using this for around 15 years, and a little tube of this is only like $8. So something I wanted to point out, when removing one of these chips that are they're pinless processors, they have no pins on them, never leave one of these motherboards without a chip in it, or at least a protector, because underneath here are a bunch of little pins that are on the motherboard side, and if you bend those, it's very difficult to fix them. I've been pushing this processor pretty hard for quite a few years, and it doesn't even have any signs of wear. Make sure it's all clean on the bottom. Yeah, I wiped it pretty good with some little IBM disk head cleaners. Make sure I got that in right. There's a little notch there, and on the socket 774 motherboards, they are able to accept a socket 771 Xeon chip. There's a little modification you can do to those little notches on each side, one there and one there in the plastic. Well, if you Dremel those two notches out and you buy a little kit online, this little kit is a little sticker that covers a couple of your pins, and it switches the pin configuration, and it'll allow you to take a Xeon processor, which are really cheap because most people don't want them because they're unable to use them in their motherboard, but you can modify it so that it will work and get one of their server grade chips in a a socket 771 into a socket 774 motherboard. Here we go. I'm going to clean this up, put this one away. So what I've done here, I've started to polish the heatsink surface, and I start with this kind of paper. It's normally for a palm sander, but what I like to do is just make a couple dots here and there, or make an X. Now this could take up to 15 minutes to do a decent job, but it will help improve temperatures on a fully loaded system. It can help improve it from 5 to 10 degrees centigrade, so definitely worth the time to do it if you're going to be overclocking. Alright, I'm satisfied with this outcome here for now. I'm just going to test its flatness with a 46 SX, and I'm going to rock it from side to side, the chip, to see if there's any wiggle. It seems to be fine. I don't feel any, a little bit of rocking that way, and that way. This is probably just a little bit on the edge. So let's see if I can find the okay, that seems to be flat, no wiggle. A little bit of a gap in the center there. So the center is still the low point. Let's see if this is a... Alright, so I ended up just taking it and using the stone under the kitchen sink faucet, running cold water and rubbing it gently with some cleaner Comet on it, and that shined it right up and made it a lot smoother. I no longer have that divot as much of a problem as before, and I mean, anything was better than what the factory made it like. So now I'm just going to clean it up with this little brush here. I guess I'm going to dry that. Jesus. Okay, this is a little disc head cleaner. If I can pop it, there we go. It has a little bit of solvent. I think it's just rubbing alcohol. And I'm doing this to get all the oils off of the metal. And you also want to clean it up with water first, and that gets all the salts. Salts will dissolve the water will dissolve the salts and rinse them off, and the alcohol will dissolve the oils. Same thing with the CPU. You want to clean them up really good. That was just off that, and it didn't even look dirty. Do the same thing here. And it's good to go together now. I just got to put on some thermal grease. We got the north bridge exposed. You can see the last person to put stuff on there didn't use Arctic Silver. It was probably me. I didn't have any at the time or something. Looks good. Same thing with the heatsink side. Clean that off. And this is the south bridge. It doesn't have thermal paste, but it has a thermal pad. And so what I'll do is scrape that off and put a little paste on it, and so it'll have a better thermal contact. I wanted to point out, this is about how much I like to use. And I don't normally spread it out, but I'm going to try it this time and see if it makes better contact. Just for the fun of it, I went ahead and grinded down this north bridge and south bridge heat sinks, or sanded off the anodizing so it's nice and shiny silver on the bottom. And the north bridge just needs a little bit of contact right there on the die, and then the south bridge doesn't really need much heat dissipation anyway. But alright, it was about 2.5 hours later. Redid a little wiring here. So I put the larger fan with better airflow on the CPU, and I also have it offset a little bit so that it blows air into the memory bank. And this is the same exhaust fan. I just re-lubricated it. I put the old CPU fan over in front of the hard drives, or behind the hard drives. There's a fan here, fan here. Alright, got all the main cables hooked up, and I just want to show everyone my front panel here. These actually occupy hard drives. This here is just a extra blank off I had so it would all match. There's my Blu-ray burner. 1.2 megabyte 5 1/4 floppy drive, 4 terabyte, probably Western Digital black drive. Then I think that's my solid state drive or something in there, and then that's just a blank off. And then down here are six mechanical drives, 1 solid state drive. So 7 mechanical drives and 1 solid state drive. I created most of this wiring myself. The power supply only offered a few connectors, so by taking other power supplies apart, I could make a Molex splitter where you'd have an input for one of these Molex connectors and you'd have 10 outputs. And that would allow me to easily connect up all these serial ATA hard drives or the SATA power connectors, the new connectors they have now. I can just run a single cable going to the back there, and then I have another branch going up the front row here, so it hits all these things, and then it also helps for being able to split up every single fan separately. So if there's a cord failure, let's say one of these little things breaks connection, it doesn't shut off anything else. No hard drives lose power, no other fans lose power, just the fan with the faulty cable loses power. And then this is loose like this so that it's easy to open and close the side cover, because I'm always working on something in here. Alright, I can just sit like that. Ooh, okay, got everything powered up, and okay, I'm gonna go back here and turn on the main power. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, fan's coming back on. Let's see if we get a keyword. Light. Come on. Come on. Okay. I don't like this. Oh, what's going on? Alright, so it wouldn't post for the first few tries. I had the CMOS battery out while I was working on it, and I thought that would clear the BIOS. It didn't. So, all I had to do was short out those 2 pins with the screwdriver. I didn't bother with the jumpers, I just shorted out by hitting those 2 pins. And it came on, and immediately I went into the BIOS, set the emergency defaults, and then shut it back down. I redid some of the wiring because a couple of the fans weren't going. The main front fan the wire had broken off of that one too. Seems like everything, all the original wiring from this case has fallen apart, so this finally replaced everything that was brittle and falling apart. Put in a couple zip ties for the main bundle there. These are all the fan connections right there. And it's a lot less cluttered now. Let's turn it on. Everything right. Alright, so I was able to get it to boot with 2 sticks of memory. I pulled out 2 sticks, Well, first I tried pulling out all the PCI cards. Then I already tried the hard drives. That didn't make a difference, so I put them back. And tried the RAM. This is the second time I've tried the RAM with just 2 sticks and I've gotten it to work. So I'm going to try rearranging the RAM and seeing if that'll make it work. So right now, as it was, I had it in this configuration, and I'm going to try this kind of configuration. First, trying it with just 2 sticks. See what happens. Let's put the 2 in there. And turn on it. There it goes. Come on, there. Okay, good. Alright, that worked. Okay. Let's go to I'll delete. No, wait, let's just last known good. Doesn't really let me hit anything. Is the keyboard working? Make sure the keyboard's connected. Okay, just reboot here so we can get into the BIOS this time. Alright, I'm in. I'm just going to put everything in manual mode right now. Fine. So that gets me. Here we go. That's native speed right there. So then I can go down to here just for starting out. There. Now we have the memory at native, CPU native, and now I should put this into manual mode. Change these all back to their original configuration, or as memory would have been at 800 megahertz. And then I can bring this down, leave it there for now. Okay, this CPU does require a lot less voltage, so I need to bring that way down. Was it right there, was it? Yeah. So let's just leave it at its original. You can probably leave everything else also. So 1.7, okay. Okay, we're gonna save as the CMOS. We're just gonna write over. I'll just start a new one down here. Call it Q9650. Alright. It just kind of popped up. I was sitting here for a couple minutes, pissed off that it wouldn't boot on 8 gigs of memory, and no lights on the keyboard, nothing, and all of a sudden the monitor just lit up. So it looks like it is configured to work now. Q9650 at 3 gigahertz. Same multiplier as the Q9650. Alright. And there it is, the black box. Okay. So it wants me to restart. I never do. Start later. I'm gonna bring up CPU Z. And see what it says here. Look at that, wow. 24-way L2 cache. It's a total of 12 megabytes. The memory. Wait, what did it say the frequency was? Oh, 400 megahertz, okay. I guess that configuration just allowed it to work.